Hi everybody, I'm Sarah and welcome to the Big Blue House Homestead. I thought today I would bring you on a full garden tour. I don't know if you can see from here how lush and green things are starting to get, but I've only in my previous videos shown a snippet of a little bit of a bed here, some tomatoes over here, possibly some stuff this and there. I haven't shown everything, so I just kind of wanted to walk through today and actually show you my entire garden. Now I live in South Carolina and I'm actually close to the North Carolina border, but it puts me in zone 7B. So with that being said, if you didn't know it, South Carolina does have beautiful mountains, not just coastal views. I grew up in South Carolina and I never knew that until I found my place. And that's why I found it, because of all of this beautiful lush green back here. Anyway, if you didn't know, gardening here in the South is very hard because we have lots of clay soil. And I have tons of clay and tons of rock. And then after you get your gardens dug and ready, the best thing in the world comes through, and that is fire ants. So everything that I'm going to walk through, I'm going to be dodging fire ants. I do everything 100% organically. I try to use no chemicals and pesticides at all in my garden unless they're organic. And so I do not do anything for the ants. I leave them, I let them do their job. They do a little bit of mess here and there, but majority of the time they help with a lot of the aphid issues. They help with opening blossoms on a lot of flowers and fruit. And they just kind of hang out and bite my feet all the time. So yeah, clay soil, rocks, and anthills. That's what I'm working with. But I just want to show you the garden because in reality, I'm on my third garden season here, meaning that this is my third year living on the property. And I have expanded from this small space to all the way down. And I have so much going on now. I wanted to put the garden in first. That was my #1 goal. And with that being said, I think I've successfully done that. I've got enough space. I think it's all that I need now. I shouldn't have to expand too much more, but I have to show you guys what's going on in the garden because I had a lot of beautiful things growing and I just want to kind of go through all of it. I won't go into detail about every little tiny plant, but I do want to give you a walk and bring you into my world and also encourage you, if you do have clay soil or bad soil, you can do this. You can garden in it. It just takes a little bit of time. Sometimes you have to add some compost, throw down some hay, throw down some mulches, do everything that you can to rebuild that soil up just a little bit, to give it some nutrients, to give it some more life and color. Instead of just being red, rocky clay, you can bring it into being a nice lush soil. And with that being said, on my third year, I have done that in lots of areas where I was not successful with gardening. Now, I by no means am a perfect gardener. I have tons of plants that I've lost. In fact, I sat down the other day and did a calculation, realized that I somehow lost 2 types of tomatoes and an entire tray of cayenne peppers. I don't know if somebody took them from my yard, and or don't know if maybe they just died and I didn't realize it, or if I forgot to plant them, but they were on my list and I just don't have them now. So yeah, not a perfect gardener. I have lots of issues. I have some bug damage going on, all the normal stuff. But I want to take you through and show you what is going on in my garden so that you can see everything that I have. Because like I said, I only show snippets and it's a big garden. So I want to show everything. All right, so I usually go in on the left side of my garden. That's actually where I've always entered because that's where I had my original gates and stuff put up. But I'm going to take you guys in on the left side today, which puts you next to the hens, and they're laying, so they're going crazy. And I apologize, there's a little bit of a sun coming out, so I'm a little squinty. But anyway, we're going to go talk to the hens for a moment, walk through the gate, and then I'm going to just start showing you all that I have going on with all of my plants. Now, I grew everything 100% from seed. I did not purchase any plants to put into the ground. All I did this year was purchase berry bushes and trees. I don't say that you have to do everything from seed. It just saved me a lot of money. It gave me a lot of education from learning those processes, all of that. But I got different varieties because I was able to grow from seed. So instead of just buying from big box stores and nurseries, I was able to expand all the varieties that I have going on and do something a little bit different than a lot of people. Lots of great gardens out there, lots of people growing great plants. Like I said, I'm not the perfect best gardener out there. I'm still learning as well, but I do have a lot to show and I'm going to share that. So let's head over. Let's go into the garden. All right, so the little bird area seems to be going good. I've got a bloom on one of my snapdragons. Other than that, my chickens keep getting in here. I have a couple rogue ones. They've knocked over pots. They've knocked over things. And so, yeah, I've got a little bit of browning and bad stuff going on, but we'll get it all worked out. And I did have this bird bath full, but it dried up. It's part of being in the South, hot, humid heat. All right, so the melon patch is doing well already, a lot better than I expected. Unfortunately, I have chickens, and they jump the fence and the coop, and they get out, and it's only a couple of them. And yeah, they scratched up everything, so you can see boxes exposed. And I have to go back through and mulch again. But I have over here a plant that I call my honeydew question mark. I'm not sure if it is a honeydew, so I need to figure that out. I saved the seeds and forgot to label. And then the one beside it is actually a mystery, which I have no idea of. Got a couple over here that are doing really well. Let's get closer. All right, these two right here, it's actually 4 plants total. I know I kind of probably overdid it, but I'm really excited. These are banana melons, really big, long melons, and I love them. So I tried to get as many out as possible. But you can see they're doing really lush and green. These are my hearts of gold cantaloupe, and they're doing awesome too. I actually have some blossoms starting, so that's great. And once you start seeing signs of blossoms, that means your plants are thriving pretty well. They're wanting to produce and put out fruit for you. And these are more of the hearts of gold cantaloupes. So these are just honeydews. I have 2 here, and I have 2 right there. And those are doing wonderful. They're getting big and spreading out. All right, so now we're by the chicken yard. You can hear my girls. Some of them are making a lot of noise, but we're by the chicken yard. And now we're going to enter the fence. This is actually where we put the big gate in. And you can see my tarp already. I do have an issue. I've got some pooling where the ground's uneven, so I may have to come through and put some straw down and amend those things. But over here on the end, I have spaghetti squash. And these are my antique marigolds. And then some zinnias. And then all down the middle, I have artichokes. Now, I did weed this out, but it doesn't, look as great as it should. We had some rain come through and things are growing back really quickly. So I have to get back out and get that done. But I don't know if you can see those. Those are actually Russian mammoth, or mammoth Russian sunflowers. So I've got a whole bunch lined down the entire bed to get some sunflowers put in here. All right, these are my birdhouse gourds. They're actually starting to tendril themselves out and spread themselves on their own. I did have some blossoms, but I don't have anything set yet, and I'm glad because they're still small. And there's another egg laid. Yay! All right, these are actually snake gourds. They're not getting as big yet, so I've just started to trail them over, but they'll do a lot better. They just need a little more time. But as soon as they do, they'll come fill out this arch, and then they'll go all the way up and start to grow. It's hard to tell, but I do have a bunch of leeks in here. Like I said, the weeds have come through. And then this is just an empty patch, but I have some marigolds, some zinnias, and some more spaghetti squash on the end. That is a jarandal, I think that's how you would say it, pumpkin. It's actually 3 plants, big, nice gray pumpkins. And then in the 2 totes back there are my sweet potatoes, and they are doing awesome, especially for my first time growing sweet potatoes. Yeah, check those out. They are doing great. Filling out and getting really big. And then I've got over here as well, and I have this one that just doesn't look like it's going to survive, but I'm leaving it. It may still get some leaves back on it, but we'll see. All right, this little small bed has my rhubarb and some sweet basil. I just have 2 plants of sweet basil in the front, and the rest are my rhubarbs. This bed is actually all corn in this section, and it's a peaches and cream variety and an early golden. And then I've got my little scarecrow. Put in a couple zinnias and some dill down here. But I've had a rabbit come through, and so I don't know if you can see this. But see that bean plant? Yeah, he ate all the leaves off my beans that I planted here. And he almost got all of them on the other side, so I'll show you that. But I did plant on this trellis some Malabar spinach. It hasn't come up yet. We'll see what happens. But when we're getting down here to the tomatoes, I've got the first little group, which are black crim. There's actually 5 of those in there. And then it moves down to Roma tomatoes. This is a little bit of a weedy mess I need to clean up, but that's my loofah gourds. And they're actually getting huge, nice big leaves on them. Yeah, see the damage on that poor little bean plant? See the damage on that poor little bean plant? Yeah, he ate it all down. All right, these are all of my jalapenos. And then along the side, look how big and beautiful those guys are. Those are sunflowers. I don't remember what type those are. I think those were the Russian mammoth as well. But yeah, they're getting huge. And then I did plant a bunch of fennel in here. It's coming up, but it's just really hard to tell because of the weeds. And I need that to get bigger to weed it out. And then I did cosmos down here on the end. And like I said, I just can't weed it out till I can actually see the plants themselves. And that'll get taken care of. All right, since we're down here on the end, this is all of my Perkins long pod okra. And these in this dirt patch are the ones I grew and transplanted from seed. And then all of this mess is where I slipped and dropped all of my seed in. Look at all those okra plants. I actually think I may start just putting okra outside from now on. I like that a lot better, a lot easier. All right, right here in this patch, I actually put in some California black-eyed pea cowpeas, but it said that they needed trellising, and then I looked it up and it said no. So I actually went back and I planted some garbanzo beans behind them, so you can see the difference in the two leaves. And we'll see, you know, maybe they'll both trellis, maybe they won't. And then this trellis over here is covered in lima beans. I've never grown lima beans, so it's the first year for that, and I just wanted to see what they do. And you can see they're already starting to catch on to the trellis a little bit. So I'll have to start training more up because there's some stretching. See on the other side here of that cattle panel with the tomatoes? You can barely even see that I have beans. That little bugger came through and ate all of my beans. So if they don't come back, I'll fill in spaces and I'll just move forward. But this is just the Blue Lake variety of bush bean. Just a standard bush bean. We'll see. I mean, I might have to fill in holes, I may not. All right, I have two melons here, and these are Silverline, which are a very nice, small, crisp melon. And I actually gave them a lot of room to stretch out. And the peppers that I have going on over there are actually sweet banana peppers. For some reason, I have banana and sweet banana. I'm not sure the difference, but I separated them just in case. All of these peppers down here, for some reason, I don't have them labeled. So I have to figure out what those are. I know all the types that I grew, so it wouldn't be so hard, but we'll figure it out. And what I have on this trellis here, on this piece of cattle panel, is I have all of my Abe Lincoln tomatoes. So these are all Abe Lincolns. And then we stop at about here. And on this side, I actually have Black Seaman, which are going to be a purple tomato. And on the other side, I have a Nana's Noir, which is going to be a green and pink striped, almost watermelon toned. And so that'll be really nice. And then I also added a bunch of tender green beans on the other side to fill that in. All right, on both sides of this trellis are my purple noodle beans. And in between, I have all of my Jimmy Nardello peppers, which they're setting more blossoms. I'm going to have to pick more blossoms off today. All right, this arch here has mosaic beans. And I need to come and get the grass out, I know. I've just been busy. But all of these will fill out, and they're a speckled-looking long Asian bean, from what I understand. They were gifted to me from Papa Pepper, so I'm trying them out for the first time. When I look down here at these squash, these are my delicata bush squash. And then that arch over there has all of the green Asian long beans. All the same type of variety, except they're just a little different in color. But yeah, all those are Asian long beans. All right, I've got a couple sugar baby watermelons here. And I gave them quite a bit of space and planted some more down there. And this should fill out. And as long as I keep them trained, I can fill this whole area with nothing but sugar baby watermelons. Looking down here, looks like I got some more blossoms. I just picked them a couple days ago, so always busy in the garden. But this whole section is the White Beauty tomatoes here in the front. And then the remaining are all an heirloom mix, which is 5 different varieties. And I don't know which one's which, but I put them all in and was just hoping to get some colorful tomatoes. And then the peppers that I have right here in the front are actually my California Wonders, which are just a basic green pepper. I've got a marigold and a zinnia patch and then a sunflower. And then up this entire side, these are all of my poblanos. All right, down here in the back of the garden, I actually have a sunflower growing there. And I have one over on the back of this panel. And in between, I'm planted winged beans, azumi wing beans, I think is what they're called. and they were a gift as well. I do have a lot coming in right there really strong, but they take a lot longer to germinate. They're actually like a 22-day germination. And then this corn did not do well. I'm not sure if something ate it or if something happened. I don't know. But I planted 2 types here, and it was Silver Queen and Silver and Gold. But then because I have so much space, we put back in a different type of corn, and that's actually called Sunny Days. That was all I could find. So this will just be a hodgepodge of corn. Now I did weed this bed, but since we've had a lot of rain, of course it's all come back through strong. And so I have to get out immediately and start weeding again. Now I'm struggling with my habaneros this year. I have 2 plants left. The other ones died, and I'm not sure why. Don't know if it was something coming through and eating, but at least I have the 2 so far. I'll just baby those and keep them alive. And then all of these bean plants are actually Romano beans, which are a broad bean, very thick, wide bean. A lot of times they're marketed as Italian green beans. So I thought I would give those a try. Last year I didn't get any because every time I planted, the deer came through, and I planted them like, I don't know, 6-7 times in total and never ever got one. All right, so I guess I probably should have started to bring a basket out because these are my summer squash. They're a bumpier variety, but look how many I have already. So I guess it's Happy Dance Day, Happy Squash Dance. I got squash growing. Got some dill planted over here, and the tomatoes that I have on here are my mortgage lifters. I'm hoping they do as beautifully as Peanuts do over at Peanuts Peppers. He pulled a nice, beautiful tomato out of his. I mean, gorgeous, ginormous tomato. But yeah, those are all mortgage lifters. All right, and on this side, I've planted all of this with the tender green beans. I just fill in space as much as I can. Look at this. So I'm plucking that guy off because I don't want to waste the time with my tomatoes. I mean, this blossom right here will create a very big tomato, but it may not be edible because it looks like it's 4 fused together. So it may not be edible. It'll have rot spots and things like that. So I'd rather just focus on these single flowered tomatoes and get as many of those instead of big nasty tomatoes. All right, so we'll walk down the squash line. That's what I call it. And you can see I've already got zucchinis growing. And these are all of my zucchini plants. And then starting here is crookneck squash. And can you see that? I should have brought a basket. Wow, lots of squash today. This is actually all of my glass gym corn. It's a very colorful, pretty corn. We like it for popcorn. And then behind all of this is just a bunch of buckets of tomatoes. I was going to give them to somebody, and they're not taking them now, so I have extra tomato plants. I wish there were people local that need them because I would gladly give them since I have a lot of tomatoes. I'm growing all of my cucumbers in buckets this year. I actually have quite a bit around my garden. They're starting to do their job. I mean, they're trailing up and they're getting big, and I actually have some cucumbers started. I'm just going to leave them. I didn't pick them off quick enough, but yeah, lots of cucumber buckets. And I do have a lot of weeds to control here, but even from this distance, you can see the cucumbers coming over, and they're doing really, really well. All right, this variety is actually called Dixie squash, and it's a smaller yellow squash. Not sure exactly how big they're supposed to get, but I'm assuming that's a pretty good size one right there. So yeah, after this, I guess I'm going to come out with a basket, and we're going to pick a bunch of squash. All right, now we're to the raised beds. I don't have a ton going on in here. I do have a lot, but not nearly as much as in the rest of the gardens. And what I have here is a couple black cherry tomato plants. I need to get those tied up a little bit better. I've got Swiss chard, my Tigger melons. They're actually going up my trellis finally. I have leeks on the end and a couple foxglove. But all of this is actually filling out really nicely so far. And this bed has Tigger melons planted in the back. You can just barely kind of see one coming up. But all of this will get pulled, so might as well just, fill in my trellising. But I have radishes here in the front, and they're starting to bolt on a lot of them. I'll probably get another harvest and then just leave the rest for seed. And then my turnips, they're not filling out really well, and now they're starting to get bug eaten. I tried to go through and clean off as many as I could, but that's a lot of little bugs. And then I really have to get out here and weed out my onions. You can see there's a lot of grass growing and then that mugwort stuff. But yeah, these are just my regular onions. They're doing really well. I'll start to get bulbs on them soon and then be able to pull them. This bed over here has my only single Cherokee purple. It was the last seed I had. So that's in the ground. I've got a zinnia behind it. These are actually Black Beauty eggplants. I've got Kentucky Wonder pole beans coming up my trellises, and they're actually getting up pretty far now. And then my beautiful patch of onion flowers. These are all onions from last year, and I'm letting those go to seed, but I absolutely love the way they look. I just think they're so whimsical. But there's a bee. Let's go check them out. That's the reason why I like to let things go to seed, because it brings in the pollinators and it fills that in until I start getting flowers on my other plants. And so like right now I'm setting tomato flowers, and this little guy will finish up on the onions and then fly around and possibly do some cucumbers, some more squash, some of those tomatoes, and then eventually I'll just have bees everywhere. But yeah, I leave this stuff for that reason. All right, this bed is full of Kentucky Wonder pole beans, and they are actually really taking off on this side a lot better. That guy's almost to the top. But yeah, they're getting really nice and lush now. And these are long eggplants. I've had the flea beetles come through, but they're all pulling back up really, really nice. I got extra onions on the end that I was pulling out or putting out for seed. And then I've got 2 Amish paste tomatoes. This is the last of my seeds, so I separated those to guarantee I don't get any cross-pollinations. But yeah, get seeds from those this year as well as a bunch of really nice tomatoes. All right, and this bed is full of beets, Detroit dark reds, and bull's blood. And so these will actually probably get harvested here in the next few days because they're getting big. I pulled one already, and it was a really nice size beet. So I'm ready to start harvesting beets. All right, I've got cucumbers on the back here to go up the trellis because, you know, I need to fill in the space. And that's the same as over here. There's more cucumbers. And this was supposed to be my carrot bed, but I got no germination. And everything that did come up, the birds ate. So I have just, you know, a small little patch here. Instead of trying to eat these, I'm just going to let them go to seed this year. And then that way next year I have more seeds for carrots. All right, I walked through to the very back of my other section of garden. This is a volunteer corn from last year. And it's already getting its little tassel thing, so I'm not sure how that's going to go. It's not even that tall. It's maybe like chest high now. But I've got cucumbers, I've got basil, I've got some black-eyed peas down there on the end. In this bed on the end, I actually have sweet banana peppers in the middle, chocolate cherry tomatoes on the end, marigolds on the end, and then it comes down to my last Hungarian heart. I had a bunch planted in here, I think it was 6, and something came through and picked them, so I have 1 left. All right, that's my blue Hubbard squash down on the end, and I filled it all in with my okra, and this brand is actually, I think this is the emerald okra. Yeah, this is the emerald okra. So I've got all my emerald okra in. And then down there on the end, I have butternut squash. Okay, so on this bed right here, I have my black from Tula tomatoes. And then it goes down to kohlrabi. And then I planted some dill, some serranos, and then on the very end is the Beefmaster. All right, these are the rainbow mix cherry tomatoes. It should give me a variety of colors. They're not doing really well. They're not bushing out even after I trimmed them. They're just kind of tall and lanky, but I don't know. We'll see if I get anything off of them. They're setting flowers now. And then those are Pinot Noir peppers. And then I have an open space. I'm going to fill in with some more dill. I've already got it sprouting, and I'm just waiting for it to get tall enough. And on the end, I have radicchio. All right, against this trellis, I have Better Boy tomatoes. And then all of those pepper plants are a Grand Bell mix. And it's just a variety of different colors. And then down on the very end, I have some Chadwick cherry tomatoes, which is one of my favorite cherry tomatoes. All right, this bed has some gherkins on the end. And then these are actually tomatoes I forgot, which means I didn't label them when I saved the seeds. So I have to figure out what they are. But tomatoes I forgot. And then I messed up big time. I started planting Clemson spineless okra in here. and I didn't realize we already had beans growing, so I'm going to assume these are my tender green beans because that's what was being put over on this side. But I'm just going to let the two grow together and see what happens. If they start to struggle, I can, pull some things out. I've got one of my kale plants that survived. The deer ate everything else that I planted on this side of the garden. So it looks beautiful. It is so big and lush and beautiful. So I'm really happy about it. And then I've got these tomatoes on the back that are actually green sausage tomatoes. And then I planted, an extra marigold. I have marigolds and zinnias all over the garden. It just looks better when they're full grown. Okay, it looks like over here, this is my strawberry spinach, and it will grow berries as well. But I have been picking a lot off of this, and it's really, really good. And then these are all of my acorn squash. Down here, I have 2 Amish pie pumpkin plants. And then the squash behind it are 49ers. It's supposed to be a cross between a zucchini and a squash. Very long, straight, zucchini-looking squash. But it's yellow instead of green. So I wanted to give those a try. All right, I've got all of my potato bags, and they're actually still doing really, really well. I've got 1 or 2 more plants that I probably have to pull. But overall, they look really, really good. I already pulled all of my peas. They were done. And I actually had spinach in here that I guess finally sprouted, but it's going straight to seed. So I'll just save it for seed. And this bed up here has sugar snap peas, but because I didn't get a good, I had a good germination, they just didn't survive. And they're not doing real great. They're nice and yellow now. I'm just saving those for seeds. So in the meantime, I went through and planted a bunch of tender green beans in to try to fix some of this nitrogen and see if that helps. And then right over here in this clump of dirt and hay, that's actually a milkweed plant. I thought it'd be pretty to put it right in the entrance. All right, that's another gherkin. And then these are my delicious tomatoes. That's actually the name of the variety, delicious. I never grew them before, so we'll see. And then beside it, I have more cucumbers, basil, and my Chinese giant peppers. I want to talk about those. All right, you see how small that plant is? I mean, it's teeny. They're all teeny. And these are supposed to be giant red sweet peppers. I've never known a pepper to not get big unless it's a hot pepper. I know hot peppers take longer, but these things, man, I'm struggling with these. These were just some old seed. It's top crop beans. I probably won't even eat them. I'll probably just save them for more seed. As you can see, germination, I got 2, 4, 6, 7 plants. And I think I put 12 or 18 seeds in. I can't remember. And then my provider beans, I planted all right here. Didn't come up at all. So, just seed saving. I guess that's the best thing to do now. All right, this little short bed up here is actually my currant tomatoes. They're very teeny tiny tomatoes. I put them in the front all the time because it's just easier to pick this way. And plus I like the way they get really big and bushy and little tiny red berry looking tomatoes. But they're doing really, really good. They're actually already setting their fruit. All right, and then over here is a big mess now. I don't know what's happened, but a lot of these plants have just died. I think it's been too hot and not enough water, and I did water them really heavy, but maybe the soil just drains too quick. Oh, I don't know, but I've got lettuce going to seed. I've got parsley and cilantro going to seed. And then I've got thyme and oregano and sage and tarragon and parsley, and I need to get out and start clipping some of this to get it dried, but that's all the herbs. All right. This section over here is where I grow my melons. I actually have Charleston Gray and Moon and Stars. So I have 2 types of watermelon that come through. This place was so full of ants, it took me forever to get it cleaned up. So I decided not to do the sunflowers because I know they'll eat sunflower seeds. And so I didn't want to put them in there and waste my time. But I have one more section to show you guys and then we'll be done. Oh my goodness. My neighbor's cat brought her kittens. Check that out. Look at the little guy behind the pot. And there's another one, but he ran off too. But yeah, poor mama. She got a lot of babies. All right, I want to talk about the front beds. They're actually filling out really, really nicely. So what I've got over here is I've got a section full of radishes, and they're going to seed. So I'll have to pluck the rest and then save some seed. Spinach is starting to do the same thing, but I've already picked off of this like 4 or 5 times, so I'm glad. I mean, just that small amount gave me a lot of salads. And then the kale's filling out really nicely. Yeah, the kale's filling out really nicely. And I actually like to pick it tender because it's really good to eat fresh that way. But this is the same kale that's in my garden. So as soon as I find spaces, I'm going to transplant some of that back there and get some nice big kale. All right, this bed has chives. And then a bunch more radishes, and they're globing up pretty nice on these, so I should pick those soon. And then these peas were an experiment. I know I'm not going to get anything, but they said bush variety, and I have never seen a bush pea, so I wanted to see what it did. And you know what? They look the same as the other peas. So I'm not going to probably put those into space like this again. I'll probably have to trellis them. All right, my borage. Oh my goodness, look how beautiful that is, even without the blooms. It's just very magical. I really love borage, but I have borage in here, and then I have, of course, more radishes, and then I have more borage. And they are edible flowers. They taste like cucumbers, so I really enjoy these. It's the only flower that I eat. All right, hot mess bed over here. All of these radishes are going to seed. I didn't even get to harvest these black Spanish radishes here in the middle, these big ones. I got one tiny one out of it so far, so I may pluck the others and just save those for seed. But this is a section for seed saving. I've got fennel, I've got Swiss chard, and I have some leeks, and I'm just going to let those go until next year, and then I'll be able to get a lot of seed from that. All right, the lettuce I think has finally come to its end. I have cut and cut and cut, and it's now starting to get a little bitter, so I'm going to leave it to get seed. It's actually two types. It's a butter crunch and a tennis ball. So I want to get more seed from that. The same with these lettuces that are now going to bolt. All of this is for seed saving as well. I have more Swiss chard. I have some lacinato dinosaur kale, and then a couple lettuces here in the middle. But they're not getting bitter yet, so I may still eat those. All right, I want to show you guys the artichoke. My little small one dried up, so this may not be getting enough water. But check that out. Isn't that beautiful? It's actually full of water from where it rained. But yeah, beautiful. So glad I have artichokes. Okay, so it's definitely hard to film every aspect of your garden and keep it at a low amount of minutes. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to go over 20 minutes with this because it is long. But I just wanted to show you guys everything. Like I said, I've always shown just snippets, and I wanted to just see what I actually have growing, what's going on. I have more stuff. I have lots of trees. I have lots of berry bushes. I have grapes. I have more spread out spots of herbs. I'm not going to get into all that today. I think this is enough. But I do want to say thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And today is going to be a busy day because I'm going to go grab a basket and go pick some squash. I'm excited. That's when you start to enjoy the garden. Not just after the work is done, but when you're starting to get the rewards from it. Seriously, squash may seem like nothing major, and that's probably 20 squash that I got to pick today. It's just squash. That's what people are going to say. But I grew that from seed. I produced those squash. I babied them, watered them, and now I have squash. And I'm going to keep that as pride in my heart. And I think everybody out there that gardens should do that. No matter what you're getting and no matter how much you're getting of it, realize that you did that. You grew that, and just move forward with all that hope still in there and be proud of what you do. Honestly, gardening is hard sometimes, extremely hard. And this year's been tough with the weather. And like I said, this is my 3rd year, and did you see how much I have going on? I mean, I have a lot of stuff growing in my garden. And I'm not saying it's all gonna make it. It's all gonna produce giant peppers and giant tomatoes. But as my season moves forward, I'm gonna be happy with everything that I get out of there, no matter what it is. And I think you guys should do the same. So if you're new to gardening, please encourage yourself and stick with it. This year may not be the best. Next year's gonna be even better. And in reality, I only had a section over here, very small section of my garden that I've grown in, and I've never been successful until last year. I extended, and then I've extended again, and now I can consider myself an absolutely excellent gardener because I do get a lot of stuff. And so yeah, squash day, I'm happy. Be happy with what you get, guys. Don't discourage yourselves. Encourage, always encourage. I wish you all the best of luck with your gardens, and I hope that you guys have lots of big harvests and everything turns out the way that you want, because gardening is very, very important. And you did see I had notes because I can't keep up with 900 million plants in my garden. So do the same. Keep notes so you know what you got, and don't mislabel stuff or unlabel things, because then you're confused and there's mysteries everywhere. So please enjoy your gardens, have fun, And thank you again for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. I put out videos daily, and I would love to see you come back and see all the things that I'm doing here on my homestead. I have everything from projects to gardening to recipe videos. So please check back daily because I do have more videos to show. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.